All right, what's up, guys? Happy Saturday. Chuck Silver, Jayhawk, bringing you some NBA content for our afternoon. We've had some difficulties. We're trying a different streaming software today, the one we used before, so hopefully it goes smoothly. We appreciate you guys still giving us your time. So, Jayhawk, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Yeah, we've had a couple technical difficulties the past couple days, but we're here now and we're ready to nail the slate. So let's get it started here.
We got the douche in the chat. Had a you had a close call last night, or you took one down last night. Either way, you've had a few screenshots already. We're only a few days in the season. You've been crushing, my man. Yeah, let's get it. uh, Unicorn Love, good to see you. Boston Pride, any players y'all like tonight? There are a lot of players that we like tonight that the field does not. So we're going to go ahead and take some high risks again. Solo, Mogbo. Yeah, we're looking at Mogbo. Jayhawk, let's start off with him, man. He was 0.5% owned. I don't know if he ended up in the winning lineup, but he went off for more than a 10x on his price. So were you looking at him again tonight?
Yeah, man. Another name that I had not really heard of, just like you mentioned. I don't know if I can play him. I think that might have been somewhat of a fluke. Kind of want to hear your take. I probably won't get too much of him, but what's your stand on Mongo here?
I'm willing to play him.
Okay.
That's about it. I'm not trying to jam him in, but he's projected for 7 and 6%. I'm pretty sure he's going to come in higher than this. We only have him projected for 17 minutes, but if I'm not mistaken, he played more than that in the last game. It was kind of weird what they did with Pirtle, though. He destroyed in the first half, and then he lost like a full rotation in the third quarter. Yeah, but Mogbo, 24 minutes. I mean, he was killing, and he only scored 12 points. He did get 5 stocks, and so that's definitely fluky. But 3,500. I mean, I'm not going to have a ton, but maybe like 15% in my 150 set.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Just get a little sprinkle.
Um, yeah, we're just going to get right into it. If you guys have any questions, want us to talk about any specific games, go ahead. We'll answer your questions and we'll work around that. Bam versus Charlotte, 7,900 FanDuel. He only played 23 minutes last game. We mentioned it when Sengun went off against Charlotte that Bigs versus Charlotte's probably still a thing. They still have Nick Richards and Miles Bridges down low, so I don't see why that would change. Bam looks really good tonight. I like him. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great call there. You mentioned it, Bigs against Charlotte. We just saw Sengun 2 nights ago. Bam's definitely the type of center we want to target here. Love that call in tournaments. Yeah, really like that.
I like him. Well, I should say I don't necessarily like him more on DraftKings. It's just easier to play him on DraftKings because we do get to play two centers over there using the utility spot on FanDuel. He's still a great play. The 9% is pretty reasonable ownership here. And the rest of the Heat actually kind of surprises me with how much they're getting owned. I do like Tyler Harrow, and then Jimmy Butler. To me, right now, he's just a deep tournament shot. Do you feel any differently about these guys?
I actually really like Hero today. I think he's in a really good spot. And then Butler, I agree. I wasn't planning on getting very much at all.
Yeah, and I was looking at Terry Rozier. His price, it doesn't like. I think in a vacuum, his price is okay today, and his points, rebounds, assist line is pretty good as a GPP shot. But there's just so many guys in the 5-6K range that we'll talk about that makes it really hard to get to Rozier. But Harrow and Adebayo, I think, are two guys that we want to look at from this team.
Yeah, agreed.
Um, all right, let's take a look at the top of the model. I mean, SGA, Lamelo, Luca. It's not often you see two players above Luca, and their names are not Nikola Jokic and Giannis, but or Wemby now, I guess. But Wemby's way down here today. SGA, Lamelo, Luca, Anthony Davis, and Wemby. We'll throw Tatum in there. So just how about the top six of the model? What stands out here, and who are you trying to target the most?
Yeah, definitely a lot of options to look at here. Initially, off of first glance, I really like SGA tonight. Going up against Chicago here, even at 30%, I think he's probably a little bit too cheap on DraftKings. FanDuel's a different conversation, and then you mentioned Wemby. At 23%, that might be or 18%, that might be a little bit low. I definitely want to be probably a little bit overweight to Wemby here. I think it should be a fun matchup here, man. Wemby against Sengun. I'm definitely excited to watch those two got it tonight.
And one thing that you just reminded me of, I forgot, very important for tonight. And I actually kind of like what DraftKings did. They split up the slate, so we are not getting these night games on DraftKings. I just want to double check to make sure. We're missing what Sacramento, Lakers, and Dallas, Phoenix. So we're just missing two games. It's not too bad, but that is going to affect a little bit. I'm just going to sort this for DK main right now. Yeah, so it turns out we only have four like true studs, and then Anthony Edwards is pulling a little bit of ownership. But yeah, the douche in the chat, Wemby chalk at 11K on FanDuel, so gross. What is the field doing? I don't know. They're just predicting his 7 stocks this early, right? I mean, that's what you're hoping for on FanDuel.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The thing though is like I wasn't that into Wembanyama before I started building out my lineups, and I think there's a lot of pretty good value tonight that it's really not hard to pay up to get to him. And then especially on DraftKings, we have a couple less pay ups to get to. I don't think that this 18% is too bad. I mean, it's better than FanDuel anyway.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and obviously a little bit cheaper on DraftKings as well, so definitely enticing there.
I want to ask you about Anthony Edwards because he's been a guy I've been over the field on both of these first two games. Part of that thesis was that I expected him to start taking more threes, which he has. But the problem is it's taking away from his driving. And I mean, he started going back to it at the end of last game, and surprise, he scored every single time. But the field's not getting there too much. The model does like him today. Do you want to be over the field on Anthony Edwards?
Ooh, yeah. So, I think here Anthony Edwards. I think he's probably prop. He might be a little bit too cheap. He's in a fantastic matchup here. I think against Toronto. I've been really targeting, Toronto as a whole. So, I think Ant makes a ton of sense here in tournaments. I like that call, man. I'll probably have around 20% Ant kind of at the field, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, I love that call, man.
And I'm just going to bring up the star player on the other side, Scotty Barnes. I mean, he was on track to super bust yesterday, but he didn't salvage, but he kind of made up towards the end. Really tough matchup against Minnesota, top 3 defense in the NBA probably. 4 and 6% ownership. I mean, is this worth taking some shots, or is it kind of like Jimmy Butler, where we probably just find other places?
Yeah, man, I was all over him yesterday. I think today, though, against Minnesota, I think he's still fine to take stabs at in tournaments, but I'm not really huge on him in this matchup, so I think he's still fine. I probably won't get there myself too much though.
Yeah, I feel like I want to force in 5, 6, 7%, something like that. Like I want some exposure, but this isn't a guy that I'm trying to get 20% of today.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a tough spot.
Eric G crushing DK this week, 58 entries for 31.35. Dude, a $20 winner take all for 500. Those are huge, man. Good stuff. Jose, good to see you playing in the $4 contest. Already have SGA and Chet. Who would we recommend? Jalen, Levine, or Franz Wagner? All right, that's a pretty good segue into. So we talked about like the top of the model plays. We'll get into some more of the mid range, but the team I want to target the most, well, the game I want to target the most is OKC Chicago. And when I'm looking at the ownerships, let's look at OKC first. OKC is chalk, man. 30% SGA, 30% Jalen Williams, 30% Chet Holmgren. 3 guys basically at 10%: Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, and Lou Dort. Over on FanDuel, it's not too bad. 40% Jalen Williams. It's probably a misprice on Jalen, so he's probably the easiest play to make out of this bunch. SGA is very expensive on FanDuel, but that's kind of a sick pivot to Wemby at only 4% ownership. Yeah, I mean, so what do you think about OKC as a whole before we get to the Chicago side?
Yeah, just kind of a overview of this game. I'm right there with you. It's probably, if not my favorite, my second favorite game to target here. The big, the stand-up play that caught my eye was J-Dub here, Jalen Williams. He obviously had a really bad game last game, but I think against Chicago here, he should bounce back. So he's like my number one option. And then you mentioned SGA. I do like him a ton in GPPs as well.
Yeah, it's like I mentioned. We'll get into more of this value I keep alluding to, but I have like 40% SGA in my lineups right now on DraftKings, which really isn't that much over the field, but it still doesn't feel great, having that much exposure to one team. And so I see OK in the chat. Can you play 3 OKC together? I am. I'm not setting any kind of rule against it. I don't see any reason why not. You probably want to run back a Chicago guy. Um, and it's like when thinking about an absolute ceiling of a lineup, yeah, it's probably pretty hard for 3 OKC guys to get there, especially if it's Chet, Jalen, and SGA. But I kind of think all of them are mispriced. And so that helps make up for maybe some of the ceiling that we're sacrificing. So maybe in the largest GPPs, again, I'm not going to set a rule. But like in smaller field, 3 OKC guys is definitely okay.
Yeah, I think, these guys are cheap enough, early on this season. I think you can probably play through totally fine. So I agree.
I do think that when I build my lineups, like I did a rough run, but tonight is a night for late swap. We're gonna have a lot of late news, or we're expecting to have some kind of late news, so be ready for that. It probably feels better to do lineups with like maybe SGA, Jalen Williams, and Aaron Wiggins, or Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, and Isaiah Joe, something like that, rather than just the big three from OKC.
Yeah, I agree. Get that good source of value as well.
Don't like Wemby against Sengun, then being conservative with his minutes. Yeah, Wemby, man. Well, Chris Paul looked great, first of all, playing next to Wemby, but kind of disappointed. Only played 28 minutes. We saw what he did in 28 minutes last year. We do want him to get closer to that 32 mark, but shot 5 for 18. He shot 1 for 8 from 3, 9 rebounds, basically no stocks, 1 block. So, I mean, he had about as bad of a game as you can have.
Yeah, man, he was rough.
What's the question about Sengun? Oh, Wemby against Sengun. I mean, on DraftKings, I think the price is probably still fine, even if we project him for a couple less minutes than we'd like to. And then the other side of it, Sengun destroyed game one at lowish ownership. Field didn't chase yesterday, which I was a little bit surprised about. I wonder if they chase a little bit more today. I mean, in the Field's mind, this is probably a worse matchup than it is against Memphis, which I'm sure is correct. But do you like Sengun at all?
I actually liked him more than I like him more than I did the last time he played. It's more of with the ownership here. I think he's probably going to wake up tonight to play in this matchup against 1B. I do like taking stabs at Sengun here in tournaments, so yeah, I'm definitely going to have more than the field.
And either way, you're getting $9,000 Jokic at 4% ownership, so could be worth taking some shots. We'll get to Chicago in a moment, guys. Want to get through these questions. Boston, Pride, just go with your heart. I mean, that's what I do. Go with your heart. And then someone said something about getting lucky. I mean, that's basically the secret to DFS, right?
Oh, 100%. It's a ton of luck.
What value is the most valuable? I don't want to like keep cutting back and forth. Let's go into Chicago real quick before we talk about some of this value. But I think these guys are all under owned. We saw Kobe White go off yesterday. I think he was the second highest leading scorer on the slate after Trae Young. This 3% is a lie. He's going to be more than 3%, but I don't think it'll be too much more. I think we kind of saw this last year. The difference last year was his price was a little bit lower, but when he started going off, people were really slow to start playing him, and projections and other sites were really slow to like project him properly. But we have projected for 34 minutes. This 3% on FanDuel is crazy. I want to be over that. And then 6,600 on FanDuel, the price is just incorrect. So at the 18% ownership, he probably even comes in higher than this, but I definitely want to be over this number over there.
Yeah, man. Kobe White, he has that huge ceiling we look for in a mid tier guard, and I think at 4%, like you mentioned, pretty good matchup here against OKC. Good game. I think he's definitely worth taking stops here.
And then in your Q&A yesterday, I think you were hyping up Zach LaVine, and I thought that was absolutely spot on. It's just DeMar's gone, Josh Giddey's in town, but
yeah,
the usage, it's just different. Zach LaVine looks awesome, so I don't know if some of that was like the reason people don't want to play him is some worry about coming off the injury, but he looks like Zach LaVine. So at 15%, 14% ownership, around 7K, I want to be over the field on him too, and I'm definitely going to play him with Kobe White.
Yeah, and you mentioned those two. Those two are probably my two favorite clear-cut plays here from Chicago. Definitely carry the team in shot attempts and usage. So I love that call.
And Vooch, I get the 10% ownership on FanDuel. The 7,500 price seems really good. High pace game. Potentially a bad matchup against Chet Holmgren, but I don't know. The model says he's the best play on this team. He is a little more expensive than LaVine and Kobe White, but I think we can take shots on Vooch. Josh Giddey is probably too cheap on FanDuel. This 8% is really appealing. Even the 1% on DK is worth taking a couple shots, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then Patrick Williams or Io DeSumo, is that a little bit too deep?
Yeah, man. I'm kind of confused. They're both projected to be sub 15% on FanDuel. I guess there's no who is out. Is Lonzo out for tonight?
I believe Lonzo is in,
Lonzo's
and
in.
he sat yesterday.
Yeah, so I don't know. I probably wouldn't get to very much of those guys personally, but what do you think?
So the DraftKings price, probably not, but 4,500 for Io. I'm always willing to take shots on Io because the minutes are there. 20. I mean, we haven't predicted for 26. It's probably pretty close to what he will play. He just hasn't done anything in these first couple games. He's on the court. I mean, he's competing for usage with a lot of good players and Kobe White, Vooch, and Levine, and Giddy now. But Io's worth taking some shots. 30% seems fine. And Patrick Williams is a guy I'm never excited to get to, but I think he had like 3 stocks yesterday. So on FanDuel, where he's super cheap, he's going to play almost 30 minutes. He's not the worst guy to mix in, not the value I'm targeting, but if he shows up in some lineups, I'm going to be okay with it.
Yeah, I think probably more FanDuel preferred, like you mentioned. Yeah, I agree.
Giddy revenge. They asked him about this, I think, and it's like, yeah, you're always going to circle the team you play, the team that you played for before, or whatever it is. Like he had this, he knew that they were playing OKC tonight. Maybe he feels they did him dirty. They kind of benched him in the playoffs, took away his confidence. Now he's out here in Chicago balling. So, I mean, either way, I already liked him as a play at 1% and 8%. So this whole team, though, I think we want to be overexposed to this team compared to the field. They have the fastest pace in the NBA since the beginning of preseason. I didn't check if that still stands after yesterday's game, but I imagine it does because it was a pretty high pace game. But I'm thinking they could be like the new Pacers of this year, where last year projections and everything were really slow to adjust at the pace the Pacers were playing. What if the Bulls are just going to be the highest paced team in the NBA and we can kind of get to them a little bit earlier than the field?
Yeah, man, for sure, right? I mean, I watched the New Orleans game against Chicago the night before, and they are playing at a really high tempo. So, yeah, love that analogy there to the Pacers.
And we did just get some news. LaMelo, Cody Martin, Seth Curry will all play. I was kind of hoping they would all sit,
Yeah,
but I guess that makes it easier because, well, it doesn't make it easier because we still like LaMelo, and I think we still like Trey Mann today, right?
yeah, I think both those guys are firmly in play, especially with Brandon Miller once again out, I believe. So,
I mean, this OF index for LaMelo is just so dumb, and this ownership is, I think it's too low. LaMelo's too cheap for what he's been showing us so far. And it's like he kind of almost failed yesterday, but then he hit a bunch of threes. What if he doesn't kind of almost fail in the first quarter and he has a 20-point first quarter and just keeps it up? Now, Miami in general is probably a tougher matchup. It's not that slow of a pace. This total is only 10 less than the Chicago OKC game. LaMelo, I think he's just the best pay up today.
yeah, man, once again, as long as LaMelo stays under his 10K price tag without Brandon Miller, I don't see any reason not to love him here. So, yeah, love that call once again with LaMelo.
I'm going to throw Miles Bridges out as a 1% play as well. I think his price, as long as he stays in this low 7K range, his usage has been good. He just needs to knock down some threes and get a couple more blocks and steals, and he can get there. As long as Brandon Miller's out, because this, I think, is the appropriate price with Brandon Miller in. So with Brandon Miller out, I think we're getting a little bit of a discount. It's a pretty high risk GPP play, though. And then we mentioned Trey Mann, 38% at 4,200. I can't say it's incorrect, right?
Yeah, man, I love him here once again. So I know it's chalky, but he's gonna chuck when he's out there, man. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of my logic.
And it's like, if you're looking at the model, you might see Seth Curry and Cody Martin with a very similar OF score, very similar minutes projection, 1/6, 1/7 of the ownership. I don't know. I mean, they kind of are direct pivots to Trey Mann, but I don't know that we want to play. Like, we're not going to play Cody Martin as a pivot to Trey Mann because that's kind of awkward. Like, Seth Curry could make a little bit more sense, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, those kind of peripheral guys for Charlotte are always kind of hard to nail down. Um, I don't know. I always slide with Cody Martin, but I don't know. It's so tough to pick those guys for me personally.
Do we have a daily plug for NBA? No, we do the videos because the problem is if we do a plug for NBA, like even in preseason, we saw it. Well, me and Smitty would spend hours writing the plug even the night before, and then it's just invalid by the time lock comes because so much news comes out. So it just is an efficient use of our time. It's not an efficient use of your time. So these videos are better. And then we have the Discord Q&A going right up until lock after these YouTubes end every day. I believe, Jayhawk, are you running that again today?
Yeah, I'll be running Discord.
Okay, nice. So that's if you want to, like, I mean, you can ask whatever questions you want in here, but if you want, I guess it's a little more personal of a feeling, but instructions to join the Discord are in the description below. I'm getting tongue tied. Sorry, guys. Jayhawk, are there any other teams that you were taking a hard look at that we haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, I feel like we covered most of them. Let me just take a look here. Charlotte mentions, I guess maybe Minnesota we can look at. We we looked at Anthony Edwards. Looks like Gobert is going to be chalk on FanDuel, pretty chalky on DraftKings. But yeah, I feel like we covered most of the teams that I was looking at.
So we did talk about Anthony Edwards. Pretty disappointed to see Rudy Gobert coming in with ownership because I think he's such a good play at 7K, especially against Toronto. I mean, no Cat, and I think we need to remember Rudy Gobert was an 8K plus player before Cat. He's a couple years older. I don't see why that would change now. He hasn't had the blocks yet this season, or really the 15 plus rebound games that we kind of want from him. But this is a really good spot to get there. Double digit OF index. I think it's okay to be with the field or over the field here.
Yeah, man, I think it's still too cheap for him. And on DraftKings, you do get that double double bonus. He's almost like a walking double double, and you get this fantastic matchup here against Toronto. So yeah, I love that call there on both sides. Honestly, like him a lot.
And Julius Randle, if I'm not mistaken, you were slandering my guy a little bit on the previous slate. And then he went off for he did what Ant and Cat never did. They both hit 5 threes and had 30 points. Cat and Ant never did that in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that was a stat, which is kind of insane. Julius got super hot. Obviously, it's not going to happen much. And then that's just going back to what I'm talking about with Ant is just going to be pulling threes this season. But Julius 6 and 5%. He's still Julius, and granted, he did get there by hitting threes. We've seen Julius get there a lot of other ways too. And at this ownership, he has power forward eligibility on both sides. I think we want to be over this 6 and 5%.
Yeah, and then another player I want to talk about from Minnesota. What are your thoughts on Dante here? I know he had a really good, preseason, but do you like him here against Toronto? Bounce back spot maybe?
Dude, the amount of money that I've lost on the amount of profit I've missed out on by having Dante DiVincenzo in a lineup the past couple days, dude, he's getting the minutes. It's a thing. I think we just have to keep going there. I mean, 10 shots, 11 shots. He's not making them. 1 for 6, 2 for 8 from 3, but 32 and 27 minutes. And it's getting kind of clear to me that the Wolves do not like Mike Conley as much. Now he's still a better game manager than Dante, I think, for this group here, with Ant and Julius Randle, but I don't know, just the minutes potential for Dante is so good. The model does not like him. Sorting by value, he is the worst value on this team, even after Jaden McDaniels. So, and I mean, the model thinks Mike Conley's the best value here too, and we still only have him projected for 26 minutes, which is probably around what he plays. He's 4,600, so it's a good price, but I don't know, 14 and 12%. I'm going to have Dante. I don't know. Maybe I'll have just around this then.
Yeah, he's a guy, man. I know he's been bad, but he has a big upside. I'm still probably going to take stabs there with him. I know he's cost you money, probably going to cost me money tonight, but I got to keep going back to the wall.
Yeah, it's like if he was 1 and 2%, then yeah, I'd be a lot more excited to get there. Naz Reid, 5,600 FanDuel versus Toronto. I think he's great. Yeah, 6%, 5,600. The minutes have been there. He had a really bad game 1, but the minutes were still there in game 1, projected for almost 26. I think he's a fine GPP play on both sides.
Yeah, I think he's definitely solid. I know Nick is a huge Nick Morrow is a huge Naz Reid fan, so if he was on here, he'd definitely be touting Naz. Shout out Nick.
Power in the chat. We're all still living on Nick Dante. So here's the thing. I'm not playing Dante DiVincenzo on Minnesota with the idea that he's going to go off for that 40 plus. Like there's a chance it's in the range of outcomes, but when I think of a ceiling game for Dante right now, I just want 30 plus, man.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Just hit a few threes, a couple steals, 4 assists. That's all you have to do. We've been, let's take a look at, I want to take a closer look at these 2 night games since we've been focusing on DraftKings for our people playing FanDuel today. Sacramento, LA, and Dallas, Phoenix. So this is on the FanDuel main slate. But if you're playing the DK night slate today, we can just take a look at these 2 teams: Luka, AD, DeMantis, LeBron, De'Aaron Fox, KD, Devin Booker. What do we like at the top here?
Once again, I feel like probably going to go right back to AD here. Against Sacramento, I think it's probably a better matchup than he had against Nurkic, but I don't know, man. Even at 10,700, he's got a huge ceiling, man. So, Sabonis is not a great defender either. So, yeah, firing me up 80 up top. And then if I had to pick another guy up top here, I don't hate, did you see Kyrie last game? He got benched in the fourth quarter, didn't come in at all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could take another stab at him at 7,700 if he's going to be low owned here. So kind of like Kyrie is like a low owned shot here, maybe a little bounce back game against Phoenix. But what do you think up top?
I don't mind it. Yeah, I like taking shots on guys like this. The problem is though that, like you said, the minutes. Like, why did that happen? I'm pretty sure the game was not at risk. Like, they weren't at risk of them losing though, right? They had a at least few point lead.
Yeah, it was pretty hefty lead. I think it was like 10 plus points.
Okay. Okay, so that makes a little more sense. Maybe they're saving him, but I mean, if he plays the 33 minutes we haven't projected for, he's Kyrie Irving. Like, it sucks playing next to Luka, but he's still worth some shots, definitely, at least on the DK night slate, if you're not getting there on the FanDuel main. And then we got the douche, our resident Suns fan, in the chat talking about Luka against the Suns is always cash. I mean, yeah, he owns them. Go to like the Suns ownership page, and it's that guy. Is it Ishbia? Is that the actual owner? And then the co-owner, Luka. He also owns the Clippers. But that has been a thing. Yeah, Luka just gets up again. He I don't know. He wakes up the morning like, I'm playing Devin Booker today. Like, I'm gonna go off. So either way, 4% on FanDuel on the main slate. He's mega expensive. We've talked about it's tough for these guys to get in the winning lineup on large slates, but I don't mind taking shots. And then on the DK night slate, maybe we'll find some value. We can play him pretty easily over there too.
Yeah, man. I mean, just look at the Christmas Day game where he had a huge game against Phoenix. I mean, I agree. He owns them.
And it's like, it's so funny because I usually don't let these kind of narratives affect my projections at all, but I think I do give Luka a couple extra points for this.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I agree.
They gave Anthony Davis power forward eligibility on FanDuel, and he's below 11K. He's projected for 20% on the main slate. I feel like I want to be over that.
For sure, man. The ceiling is just so high with him, especially against Sacramento here.
Yeah, that power forward eligibility is so big. That might be my favorite pay up on FanDuel now. Yeah. Take a look at some of these other guys. Love De'Aaron Fox as a tournament play tonight. FanDuel price is kind of tough, but on DraftKings on the night slate, I think he looks awesome. And I want to throw, the model doesn't love him today, but Malik Monk, I think, is a pretty decent tournament shot. He's definitely pulling ownership on FanDuel. So just consider if he's pulling 18% ownership on the FanDuel main slate, he's probably going to pull hefty ownership on the DK night slate. I know we don't have the ownerships populated here, but what do you think about those two guys?
Yeah, so I would slightly prefer Monk. Obviously, the field does on FanDuel as well. But you mentioned Fox. You know, I'm probably not going to have too much the bonus on that slate if I'm going to play a bunch of AD. So I think Fox is probably, a good pivot there if I'm not getting as much the bonus. Yeah, so I like both those calls. Would prefer Monk point per dollar, obviously.
Well, I like Sabonis too, and they gave him power forward eligibility on both sites, and so especially on DraftKings at 9,100, night slate only. I mean, he's going to be very popular on the night slate. So,
yeah.
Austin Reeves went off last night. That's my boy right there. Lakers are just a completely different offense with JJ Redick. This is AD's team. D'Lo has been bad. He got benched for Gabe Vincent, which is like one of the worst things I can imagine. But until he has a good game, I'm pretty sure no one's going to play him. He's coming in at 2% and around 6K. I mean, we know the upside he has, and so he's going to be a good GPP play basically every day. He's this price and this low owned.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I do prefer Reeves to Russell most nights, but
yeah,
Russell does have that ceiling you mentioned. So if his shots are going in,
it's just most of the time like the game Reeves had last night. That's the type of game you expect D'Lo to blow up for sometimes, and Reeves played out of his mind. Maybe he's still getting better. I don't know.
And then now you gotta connect four, so it's like you get the whole.
Oh man! Once that guy starts getting real minutes, Dalton Connect. Dude, I want him to win 6th man of the year. I don't know if he'll play enough, though. Keegan Murray, last guy I want to mention, 6,400 on FanDuel, I think is an okay tournament play at 4%, but this 5,400 on DraftKings on the night slate, I'm probably going to have 100%.
Oh, yeah. Love Keegan Murray. I was going to mention him. He's probably my favorite play here from Sacramento.
Let's start by DK value. Stephon Castle, Julian Champagnie, Keegan Murray on DK, only on the night slate, though. I'm going to do DK main since we're looking at DK. LaMelo is the 3rd on DK value, and he has basically the highest OF index score. I mean, we talked about this. It did not work out for Ja Morant the other night, but that's in the range of outcomes. Only plays 12 minutes. LaMelo is just the best play. I got to be careful saying that stuff. He's my favorite player to get over the field on tonight as a pay up.
Yeah, 17% just seems really low for him. Between him and SGA, I don't know if I could fit both, but I want to get one of these guys in if I can. In Lamelo, it's kind of a tougher matchup, but this usage is just insane right now, man. So yeah, I love Lamelo.
And SGA too, top 5 in value, number 1 in OF index. I think we just play a bunch of these guys. If you can try to make lineups with both of them work,
Yeah,
I think we do that, or maybe mix one of them up with AD or Wemby or whatever. Jalen Williams, other OKC guy, very high in value. Bilal Coulibaly. I'm glad that the model's identifying him as a top value, and I was really hoping he was going to come in low owned because this is probably, he was going to be like my favorite low owned value, but since he's not low owned, I just 4,400's wrong, even though it's a tough matchup against Cleveland.
yeah. You probably gonna have to talk me into him. I wasn't looking too strong on him. I know he's gonna be chalk, but he's so close to Trey Man's price. I know they aren't like technically the same position, but yeah, it's you a cool volley believer?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
the problem is he only took 2 shots, but he still got there in 30 minutes. And the 30 minutes is the big thing. 6 rebounds, 6 assists. We'd like to see more real life points, but I mean, he did get to the free throw line 8 times. But the main thing is he's going to be on the court for 30 minutes, and this is one of the worst teams in the NBA. They have no expectations. He looked really good in the offseason. Just, develop your young player.
Mm-hmm.
I like him more than the other guy on Washington. Is he still pulling ownership? The guy that killed us last time,
Oh,
Carrington.
Carrington. I don't. They bumped his price, I think, to 4,200 now on DraftKings.
Okay.
So shouldn't be too tough.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, I don't know if he's a good play today. We haven't projected for 26 minutes. If he's as long as he's starting again, I feel like I have to play him because I had so much last time and he let me down. If I don't play him today and he goes off, I'm just going to feel really sad about it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
One more,
Go ahead.
2 more value pieces I want to talk about. I guess 3. Kind of San Antonio here. What are your thoughts on Barnes, who's picking up some steam, Sohan, and then even Champagne here? How do you rank those guys, or how do you feel about those guys?
Well, Power in the chat kind of Champagne's the best value on the slate. I can't disagree. I think he's awesome. 4K on DraftKings is super incorrect. With Devin Vassell out, his usage is not a 4K player, especially projected at 29 minutes. It's probably the easiest play to make on DraftKings in the value range. 5K on FanDuel, still going to take shots there. Sochan, love Sochan on both sites. It's a little more expensive on FanDuel, but we're getting an ownership discount. And then you mentioned Harrison Barnes. Isn't this one of our favorite guys to rag on last year?
Oh yeah, I'm not a Barnes flavor.
I got around the field on like my first DK run, and I just left it. He's going to play the minutes, and we expect so much more from his career. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, he had a really good game last game, I believe, but a good start at least. I don't know how he finished. But.
And then I don't know what to do with this Stefan Castle top of value. I'm so much more comfortable playing Champagne.
Yeah, I don't know. He's only guard eligible. I'd rather just play Champagne if I could. But Castle's a guy I know you and Smitty bumped him in the plug all summer league and season. I think he's a really talented player out of UConn. So still want to monitor him moving forward.
I mean, in game 1, he was a fantasy point per minute guy. He took 7 shots, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, didn't get a stock. He didn't get there, and this is not going to do it tonight. But, I mean, if he puts up a little bit more, could be enough. Model's identifying him as a really good value, so I'm going to play him a little bit just based off that.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a guy I want to get around the field on, definitely with a big ceiling. So
say don't do it. Is don't do it about Harrison or Stefan? Horford, Wendell Carter, or Sochan? I actually think my answer is Wendell Carter. His minutes have been huge the first 2 games. He lost a rotation in game 1 because of blowout, but I'm pretty sure he was on track for the same thing yesterday. 31 minutes. We didn't see this last season from Wendell Carter. He's only 5K. I think we want to overplay him today for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think he probably should be the chalk center at
Yes.
5,100. If you're playing cash games, I think you're just jamming him.
Oh, he is a chalk center on DraftKings. 30%.
Yeah.
It's appropriate, though. I think it fits. And then Paolo is kind of popular. We saw Franz go off yesterday. Franz was such a sick pivot to Paolo if you got there yesterday. I think they still look good today. And then Jalen Suggs, I thought this was lower earlier. Maybe this came up. I thought he was going to come in lower owned. If this changes before lock and he comes in lower owned, I kind of like getting there a little bit more. But 20%. That's probably actually an okay ownership.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on getting to too much Suggs. There's a ton of guards I want to play today, so he didn't make my cut, but he's definitely in play for sure.
Dean Wade. I was watching the play-by-play yesterday on this Cleveland game, and just like, what do you do? 3 possessions in a row. Dean Wade 3. Dean Wade 3. Dean Wade 3.
I never get that guy right, man. I've played him the past 2 years, and I always don't play him the right game.
The thing is, there's nothing in the numbers or the stats that could have led us to project him for anywhere close to 27 minutes. What do we have him for today? 20, 23, 24? Okay, so maybe we were projecting him close to 27 minutes, but I mean, 5 for 7 from 3, 7 for 9 from the field, got 2 steals. It's 3,800. I don't think he's the worst play, and he's the type of guy that I'm not going to target, but if he shows up in my lineups, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, if he's like a last piece, then I'm fine. If I'm playing like a 4K guy, if you can get up to him, I'd rather just play Champagne, like you mentioned.
Let's hit some FanDuel value, and then we'll build a quick dummy and let you get to your Discord.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, so sorting by FanDuel value, it's the most disgusting 2 players on top. Patrick Williams, Stephon Castle. I mean, they're model approved guys, so they're model approved. I don't know. Keldon Johnson, Mike Conley, Alexander Sarr. Sarr's probably okay. I mean, I don't know if he's good at basketball, but his price is good. They're going to find the Wizards have a big incentive to find out if he's good, so they should want to run him. We'll have to see. I mean, what do you like here at the top of FanDuel value?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy seeing LaMelo here at top of FanDuel value. Just shows you how good of a play he is.
Mm-hmm. At 8%.
Kobe Wyatt, 14
Yes.
point. Love that as a play. You mentioned him. Yeah, man. I guess Patrick Williams. I guess we got to play someone FanDuel, right? I mean, 16.4.
Yeah.
One name I wanted to throw out here that I see that's top. We didn't really talk about Boston. Just real quick before we head out, what do we think about Tatum, Horford, Derek Wyatt? What do we think about these guys?
I got very little exposure to them on my first run. I think I got some Tatum, and that was it. Maybe I got a little Drew Holiday. It's just tough. This is like me and Smitty were joking the other day. We hate it when Boston is on the slate because it makes decisions a little bit harder. I just, like I said, I'm personally not going to get much exposure to the. What is this? 35% for Peyton Pritchard. Everyone's just projecting the blowout. 12.5 points is close to blowout, but if the score is within 12 with 3 minutes left in the game, Peyton Pritchard is probably not going to be on the court. This is insane, dude.
That's in like 12.5. Like, I still don't think that's like blowout. Like, I don't project for blowout until it gets to like 16 or 15 for me. So like, it's still below that.
Yeah, this is a mistake by the field, but it's like he's chalk today, so he's going to go the freak off, you know?
Oh, he sure will.
If he was a more reasonable ownership, I think he'd be a fine play at 4,300. It's just that there's no reason for him to be this high except for other sites projecting him high. I mean,
yeah,
DK value, he's the cheapest player on the Celtics, and he's the 5th best value on their team according to the model. So Peyton Pritchard is a model approved fade today.
100%. I was just gonna mention that, and I love Pritchard as a player, but I just don't think this is the spot.
I love him. I think he's so good, dude.
Yeah,
he works so hard.
100% agreed.
I had a friend go to college with him at Oregon, and I was like, "Did you ever hang out with him?" He's like, "No, but we were at the same place a lot of times." I was like, "Yeah, was he cool?" He's like, "I mean, he acted how you'd expect him to act." I'm like, "Well, he's Peyton Pritchard. He probably gets a pass."
You know, P. Pritch. I mean, how could you not like P. Pritch here on campus?
It's just he works so hard. I can't not respect it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to do this very quickly. I'm gonna throw Champagne in as the first player in our dummy build.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the first player you thought of when I said that?
Champagne?
Well, after Champagne, like who's the next player that should go in here?
One of LaMelo or SGA for me. I say LaMelo.
All right, let's do LaMelo. I kind of want to try this since the model's super high on both.
Yeah, let's do it.
Wait, where's SGA? Oh, SGA is already there. SGA and LaMelo leaves us 5K with the Champagne value. Let's go ahead and plug Wendell Carter in as our chalk center.
Agreed.
I mean, do we want to go as deep as Stephon Castle, man?
Honestly, with the model liking him so much, let's throw him in for some value as a pivot to like these chalky other value guards.
Yeah, take a look at this. Excuse me. I'm gonna throw in Koulibaly. as, is he power forward or small forward? I think he's small forward. Throwing Koulibaly as another model approved value. I did want to get Kobe White in here somehow. Stephon Castle forward. No. Is Kobe White a shooting guard? I'm gonna take Castle out and put in Kobe White since we were kind of hyped about the Bulls. Is there another valued? Pick one. Dean Wade or
I don't know if I want to put Dean White in the dummy.
Yeah, who's the other option? Trey Mann.
Yeah, I was about to say Trey Mann. I was gonna
Trey Mann.
Yeah, let's go Trey Mann. I like him a lot.
All right, so we're gonna have to put him in utility. When you're doing your lineups, make sure you get the players playing in the latest games at the bottom here. Max flexibility leaves us 5,600. I feel like there is a value. Where's Sochan at? Where's my boy Sochan? Perfect. Sochan, Naz Reid. JJJ was questionable today. Otherwise, I'd still be pretty into Santi Aldama. If Jaren Jackson Jr. does not play today, I think Santi is worth going back to. But this is I mean, this, like, just looking at this is disgusting, but these are the best plays of the day. So we like this as kind of our core.
Yeah, I agree. Both those guards, man, look really good. And then another guy we didn't throw in the dummy build, but I'm going to have a ton of Jalen Williams as well.
Yeah, Jalen Williams. I mean, if we could get him right here, this would just be the nut build, right? Maybe, I don't know who we would come down on. I guess Kobe White, but
that's kind of the core, though. For everyone.
And Spaniard. Do we like Castle? Yeah, we really only talked about him in the last couple of minutes. He's top of value. I'm way more comfortable just paying the extra 500 for Champagne or paying the extra 1,000 for a Koulibaly. But the model could be identifying someone before he breaks out, so it's definitely want to take some shots still. We appreciate everybody watching today. I think we made it through the show without any hiccups, so that's pretty cool. We're going to do the same thing tomorrow. We'll be back, I think, the same time, assuming the slate locks at the same time. But big day tomorrow. Lots of football, lots of basketball. Jayhawk, any other notes before you get out of here and move on to your Discord?
No, I appreciate you guys tuning in per usual, and let's go out there and let's crush the slate tonight.
Yeah, the instructions are in the description below if you want to hear Jayhawk say the same stuff that we all just said over the last 45 minutes, but it'll be just him. So we appreciate you guys